Hey guys, it's Emily. I'm back with another speed build. Very excited to be back with this one. It was inspired by RETHASIM. She's doing a fantasy save makeover of the entire world. Last month it was Gnome Creek, and I did that treehouse build for treehouse and underground home with the kind of hobbit hole looking things for Gnome Creek. And this month it is Elvenberg, and so I was inspired to create basically Lothlorien from Lord of the Rings. Was kind of my inspiration for this. I used a lot of kind of references from the description of the book, also the movies. So obviously it's going to be built up in the trees. That's kind of the main descriptor. And because it is for the RETHASIM fantasy save, I ended up making it into a spa lot. You could convert it into a home lot if you wanted to have your Sims live here. If you have like elf Sims or, whatever Sim you want to live here. The spa area you could easily turn into a house, have the basic amenities. There's enough room on this lot. I think it is a 64 by 64. And so, there's lots of room. I end up landscaping a lot of it, but, I think it ends up being just a really beautiful lot and a really lovely feeling lot. So here, this building is kind of the major building. I was using a lot of reference photos. I kind of Googled Lothlorien and just to see people's interpretations of it, just kind of get ideas. And so I wanted to have like this one primary building, and this in the movie where Galadriel and her husband come down the stairs was kind of what I was thinking for that building, and so it's kind of the main building. And I end up putting the realm of magic portals in there, so it's kind of like the portal room as well, the main hub, and then the other main area is the big building, which is where the spa is. And so I wanted to have varying levels, of course, just to make it look interesting. And so you can do that as long as they're not attached. You can raise them up or down. You see me dragging them up and down here. And they can be at different levels as long as they have at least one tile apart from each other. And so, I really like the look of that, of how it was varied. I do end up using the tool mod, Twisted Mexie's tool mod, a lot in this build. And I show you a little bit of what I've done. I don't show you the entire thing, just so you can kind of get the idea. You don't need the mod in your game to play with these lots. You can download it from the gallery, and it will, as long as you have move objects on, everything should install fine, and you can play with the lot, even if you don't have the mod. So that is the nice thing about that. A lot of builders are really getting into using it just because it allows for, such much more creativity, freedom of creativity. So here is how, if you saw in the opening shot, I kind of make the buildings have this lacy look. I wanted to have definite like architectural style to the Lothlorien feel, and so I ended up using these I think it's like a doorway, an archway, and I use those all throughout the whole build. It's kind of the theme. And here is how I'm making the lacy ones, and I'll just show you how I do it one time, and then it kind of appears magically all over the lot through the magic of editing. So you don't have to watch me do every single one, otherwise this would be like an hour-long video. But so all I'm doing is shrinking them down to different sizes and then raising them up. And you'll see when I do one side, I raise it up to make sure it's exactly the same height as the mirroring side, just to make sure everything is properly lined up. And I actually end up, if you saw in the opening shot, adding some lights to kind of make it look all the more magical. Like I felt like it needed something, like it's kind of cool, just the lacy look of the archways itself, but then I thought, in all of the photos and in the movie, like the lighting of Lothlorien is such a big part of it, and so I wanted to figure out a way to make the lighting really special and beautiful and, you know, have this magical feel. And so I ended up creating this kind of jewelry look that I saw. An inspiration for that was a new simmer on Twitter. Her name is Simspiration84, and she actually, I think, just changed her name, and I don't remember what that is, but I was checking out her lot. She uses the tool mod in amazing ways. There's this dragon on there that I just loved. And she had done some kind of lacy walls with lights. She just entirely used the lights, and I really liked the look of that. And I thought, well, this would be perfect in those archways, like, you know, just to kind of make them look like jewelry, you know, make it kind of magical looking. And so I end up showing you an abbreviated version of that as well, just because putting all of the little lights actually took a long time. This whole lot actually was very tedious, and the stairs you saw in the opening shot took me one day to do the entire stairs, and then and the archways, and then the little hangy things took me another day. So it definitely was very tedious, and I had to edit out a lot just because, again, it would just be so long for you to see all those little details. And here you'll see that those archways, the lace look has kind of appeared magically all over everything. Here's these pool lights that I was talking about. Just sizing them up and down and making up a pattern as I go. It was really just, you know, whatever I thought it needed and what looked good to me is what I ended up adding. And so all of them are a little bit different, like because the archways are in different patterns, and so I just, you know, did whatever looked good, and then, you know, that's how I created that look. The wall is in place so that they all are, you know, at the same level. There's none going to be forward or backward. And then when I move it up, I use the hammer tool to get rid of that wall. So everything's looking nice and beautiful and even. And then I just, like you see here, copy and paste it up and then scoot the wall overhang in, and it just looks perfect. And so magical. Like I love those night shots. I'm hoping they will translate well to when you're watching them on YouTube, but when it's in the game, it's so beautiful. Here I needed a reference. You know, I was building those stairs on my own, and so I was trying to figure out how I was going to get everything to look even. And I used this roof. It was kind of a way for me to get the heights of everything. And again, I'm just using that archway, sizing it up and down depending on what I need. And here's it's just a shelf. Again, I'm raising it up. And when I get to a certain point, I have to use the tool mod because, you know, the height that you can raise it in the game is cut off at a certain point. I just used that spa, you know, it was a round shape, the spa decoration, the fountain, to kind of get the angle of how I was going to go around. And then I just go in here with the tool mod and rotate those stairs so that it's perfect. And that's basically how I create the stairs. And then you'll see once I take everything away, I kind of set the archways to the highest one so that it's not hanging below, and everything looks neat and nice. And then when I go around the corner here, of course we can only put in the game, you can only put those angles, the archways on 45-degree angles, or, you know, just straight up and down. And so I use that tool mod to rotate those archways around the corner like you see me doing there. That's how I accomplished the look. Again, you don't need the mod in your game to play this lot. Just make sure that the move objects is on. Here I'm making the main spa area. The porch area you can't use because I have the portal blocking the doorway, but if you wanted to utilize the porch for any reason, you could move the portal somewhere else, even onto the porch itself. Those portals I did size down because I wanted the magical look of it, but I didn't want the portal to be this big bulky thing in the doorway, and so that's why I chose to do that, and you can size it back up if it doesn't bother you. You'll see me, if you've watched any of my other builds, I use this roof technique where you slide it over to get it to a level you want, because that is not a full wall. If I were to put a roof on it, it would actually be floating up, and so that would look really odd. And so the way I accomplish that is by building a little room like you saw, and then putting one on top, and I delete the bottom one, and then I can free slide that room up and down, and with the roof on it I can get just the right height. So I use that technique a lot. You have to put the roof on last minute because it will disappear if you add walls or anything. Like if I were to draw those walls right there with that roof that I had slid in place, it would completely disappear and I'd have to start over. And so so you either have to do it the very last thing, or like I did, I pushed it back so it was floating on its own, it wasn't over anything, and then it doesn't disappear. So either method you could use if you wanted to do that. In the spa, I wanted to have a nice natural feel. You know, it's not necessarily consistent with all the architecture of the rest of the build, but I wanted to, you know, have it feel very natural with the rocks and the wood and the plants, and I thought at least that was consistent for, you know, the story of Lothlorien, that, you know, their houses are built in trees, and, you know, they're the roots of the trees and the golden trees, and so we have some golden trees, and in the book they make mention of, you know, golden flowers floating in the foam of the falls, and so, you know, it's just this real natural, peaceful, but magical, like the darkness doesn't touch Lothlorien, so if I recall correctly. So it's a real magical place, and I wanted to have this spa just, you know, feel really, like I said, natural, and have the special lighting. Like we have a lot of candles, you know, a lot of different style candles for the lighting. There's no main overhead lighting. It's just all this, you know, kind of secondary lighting. And again, I wanted to kind of repeat the waterfall theme, and so I have that indoor waterfall that I actually end up using behind the shower. It's still functional. I play tested this a lot. You know, it's kind of strange to have a waterfall, but I thought, well, this is actually kind of special because you could have, you know, like a waterfall while you're in taking the shower, and so that was kind of something I thought would be really luxurious. And so we do have the two mirroring bathrooms that we end up with that have the toilet and the shower, so your Sims can, you know, you could hang out in this lot forever if you didn't want to change anything. Or, like I said, you could make it into a house in this little area right here. Plenty of room to do that. I do recommend highly that you lock your camera in place. If you, like right here, I would lock my camera in place because of all the different varying levels. If you kind of move forward and backward, you're inclined to, the camera will jump up and down a lot, and it gets even worse as you get higher and higher up on the lot. Things move faster, and so I really recommend that you lock your camera in place, and you do that by pressing Control, and then you can press 5 through 9. So there's 5 camera positions you can lock your camera in, and that way, so I would press Control 5 right here, and it would bring me there every time I press 5, and that way you can avoid all that jumping around. And then, you know, you can press Control 6, Control 7 in different spots. And that's actually how I'm doing the shots when the camera is moving in the beginning, of how I get the camera to move from area to areas. I'm just programming those into my keyboard, and then I'm recording it, and I'm pressing each number as it moves. And then the way you undo it, like for those of us who use the 9 key to raise things up and down, you just hit Alt and then whatever number. So the Alt key plus that number is what clears it out of the memory. Here you'll see I use this. This is, again, I'm just using the tool mod to rotate those archways in ways that you wouldn't normally be able to, and I'm able to create a round room that way. I do end up, you'll see in the end, I end up sizing these up, and so there's less of them because I need less to cover the space. But I wanted to show you here how I'm just doing it, and I'm just rotating it and then repositioning it as I go. And I end up using this room with the sized up ones in 3 different areas. 2 of them you can't access because I ran out of portals. I think there's 3 portals that have an in and an out portal. And I have 5 rooms if you include these rooms. And so you can't actually access it, or you could use the shift click and transport your sim there, but then they'd be trapped, which may be a good thing depending on the sim, I guess. But this is a spa lot, so definitely was going for more the relaxing thing, not like, you know, trap my sims thing. I also included the Mirror of Galadriel, you know, kind of reference from the movie, as you saw in the opening shot. It's Frodo looking into the mirror with Galadriel kind of watching on. You know, in the book it would have been, I think, Sam and Frodo look in the mirror, but in the movie only Frodo looks in the mirror. Here you'll see how I ended up doing the all the hangy things that hang from all over the structures. This is kind of a, I think it's a city living like post, and I use the tool mod to flip it upside down, and then I'm sizing it up and down just depending on or sliding it up and down to get the right height. And that's how I do it everywhere. I just use the tool mod like once tool mod to flip it, and then slide it up to wherever I need it to be, like under the edge of the buildings, or like I did it all along under the stairs. And then in some instances, like I said, I have to use the tool mod because raising it up is maxed out to a certain level in game, and so to get it to a little bit higher level, I need to use that tool mod to accomplish it. But in this particular instance, it wasn't an issue, and that's the end result, is those hangy bits. Just so you the basics of how I'm doing the landscaping here, I'm using the debug rocks, and you can bring them up from the basement if you don't have the tool mod installed, and you can still accomplish this look, but I use the tool mod to just lower it. It's quicker and simpler for me since I have that mod already installed. I'm, you know, just right here, I'm just lowering it. But again, if you could put a basement in and bring it up, raise it up with your 9 key or however you raise it up, and get the same look that way. They do mention, like I said, the stream and the waterfall in the book quite a bit, and so I definitely wanted to have that as a main feature in this build. I noticed as I was playtesting that my sims really wanted to swim all of the time, so definitely watch out for that if it's winter or if it's cold out, because they can end up in trouble if they are ending up swimming and you're not paying attention. You could be in for a surprise there, but I don't know why my sims always want to swim when it's cold out. It seems like something they wouldn't do. They would hopefully be smart enough, but nope, apparently not. So here you'll see I've just kind of got a lot more of those rocks in place, and kind of the concept of the Galadriel's mirror there. Just trying to kind of make everything look real natural and kind of grown up and in place. Like, you know, everything's grown up for many years, and it's kind of an old looking space. Again, they mentioned the roots, and you see it in the movie. They're the big roots of these ancient trees that are, you know, they can't even tell how high they are. And so I wanted to have that really kind of gnarly, rooty element to the entire build. I really love the look of it, and it's, you know, consistent with the book. Again, I'm just adding some more lighting to that room you can't actually access unless you use the teleport. There's nothing on there right now except some benches, just kind of for looks. I would have loved to add the stairs, like spiraling up all the way to the spa, spiraling up to each section, but that would have taken me probably a month to do the whole thing, and so I just decided I would do the one, and you know, it's pretty and dramatic, and then we're going to use the transport. It's not Star Trek. What am I talking about? The portals for Realm of Magic. There you'll see I'm just adding the spa lights to those rooms. I do that all the way around. Again, using the tool mod to kind of rotate the light in a way I wouldn't normally be able to, so that they sit perfectly in those archways. Here I'm just adding bushes. I don't show you all of that just because I know you guys know how to add bushes. I just rotate size up and size down just to make sure that it's a little varied a little bit. And, you know, looking really, like I said, natural and beautiful, and, you know, hopefully feel like it's been there for a long time. It was a lot of fun to do this build, but again, it was very tedious. I'm already excited by the new eco lifestyle pack coming out. I already have an idea that I'm going to start working on now, and so finishing all this tedious work when I wanted to be working on my new idea was tough, but I'm really happy. It's very beautiful, and you know, it's maybe not the exact movie replication, but it's my interpretation of Lothlorien. And you know, we have areas here for them to sit and eat, and you know, they can nap here if they need to, so they can do everything that they need to do. I hope you guys are all staying safe, staying healthy in this uncertain time. Things are starting to open up in my area, and I hope that everybody stays healthy. So please be careful and take care of yourself, and thanks so much for watching.